Hey guys, what's up? Time for another video game video. Listen to me ramble about video games. Although this is going to be kind of for me as well, but I'm going to try to tell some stories that will make it interesting to the people that watch my videos for me to actually talk about video games. But I'm going to more so talk about the competitive side of video games of this, right? And I'm going to talk about the ideas that some people say it's easier to get better at games nowadays. It's easier to obtain knowledge. I want to talk about, not just want to talk about game design, how fundamentals are so important, but I also want to talk about how important fundamentals are in terms of just competitively speaking as well, versus tricks versus combos, that kind of stuff. And I'm going to suck myself off in this video, of course, but there is an adequate amount to suck. There's an adequate amount of suckage that could be had, but I will say as well in this forward, once again, because I know every hater always tries to twist my words, once again, I'm not saying I would win any tournament anymore. I don't have that kind of competitive ego, so I'm not going to say that I would win tournaments anymore, right? But it is a fact, and this is why I want to talk about this competitively speaking, right? So, as you guys may have known, I have randomly played online, okay? And currently, and this is not me joking, right? This is a fact, and this is not me saying that I would win tournaments. But no joke, my record in plus R right now on my fake accounts is something, it's obnoxious. It's no joke, something like 915 or something. No joke. And I don't play this game, okay? I don't play video games like other people. I play video games randomly. And I've always said when people are like, well, why wouldn't you enter tournaments anymore? You could probably win tournaments. I always say, I don't have a competitive ego like that. I'm not going to say I would win tournaments. But there is no doubt, it is factual knowledge, whatever the fuck you want to call it, factual evidence, I guess, that I have a fucking obnoxious record in this game, and I don't play video games seriously. And I've also said that when people are like, would you enter tournaments? I'm like, I don't have matchup knowledge. I just don't play the game like that. I only play video games so fucking randomly. Like I've said before, I don't remember how long ago Plus R came out, but I probably never even played the game 100 times. You know what I mean? I just randomly, besides I've made some combo videos for the game, I would just randomly play a friend when we play. And for a story about that is I have played my friend in video games this year. This just goes to how much I play video games. Maybe, I think 2 times this year. It's almost August. 2 times. We've only played video games 2 fucking times this entire year, I think. Isn't that crazy? So I've never been someone that's played a lot. So again, I have no matchup knowledge. And I'm saying this because, and you want to know what? And people are going to be like, oh, you only beat people that suck. I've said this before, and this is not a joke. I have thought, once I beat everyone that I know is a hater of mine, I've thought of putting out these videos. And this is not me joking. This is not me saying that I'm better than people, per se. But I have seen people that are supposedly considered the good people in America. Do you think these guys trashed me online if my record is 915? Oh, you can be sure I could put videos of me beating these guys. I'm not going to say who. But I have not been fucking impressed by the good people in this game, considering how much I play on a broken controller. Don't even give me bullshit that there's not. Don't even give me this bullshit controller, because I showed you my fucking controller, and I'm not even doing things like the impossible combo. Okay, so, and I'm saying this because I was playing this guy recently, and he had like 10,000 or 10 times as many matches as me. He's like in the 10,000s or some bullshit like that. And I've said before, one of the reasons why I don't think I would win tournaments anymore is because I just don't have that kind of matchup knowledge, right? I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm on cruise control when I do this shit, right? Total cruise control, just doing whatever, right? And so I'm playing guys, and I'm like, man, I'm just winning because I'm just beating these guys with just pure, simple, like fundamental shit. Okay, and this is where the deeper conversation gets. So, Plus R actually has this thing where you can look at your match as a replay feature, right? And wow, imagine how easy it is to get good at games now. There's this replay feature where you can look at your matches and see how to get out of shit. So I'm looking at some of my matches because, again, I'm totally admitting to you guys, my matchup knowledge is very sparse because I just don't fucking play the game. Haven't played the game. Game's like 10 years old, whatever it is. It's not really a game I played. but I have that fundamental kind of knowledge. And so I'm looking at things, I'm like, and I knew during the match, I was like, I must be able to get out of this. And so I'm looking at some of these things that people are doing to me. I'm like, oh, I guess I can do that there. I guess I can do that there. I guess I can do that there, right? Very convenient feature. I got to say, very convenient fucking feature. Imagine, it must be so easy to get good at games nowadays. But I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, you know what? How did these guys have like 10 times as many matches as me? And I can only imagine how much they've actually played in real life. Because I've told you, when I play video games in real life, it is so random. I played my friend maybe 2 times this entire year. Who knows all these other years? You know what I mean? We might get together, there's an entire year. We might get together, handful of times, but we're not necessarily playing Guilty Gear. We might be playing Smash Brothers. Pikachu might be Thunder Shocking some shit. And my friends destroy me in Smash Brothers. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but it's so weird just to be able to say that you play video games for fun and there's not that super competitive thing, But it's like, it's okay if I lost. We're just playing for fun. And so I'm thinking, like, how do these guys lose to me? How are these guys struggling when these guys are supposed to be the good people, right? And I can tell you as well, I know some of these guys must have fake accounts too, because me and a friend were joking about it, right? I played some guy and he didn't even have 100 matches. And my friend was like, that's a Smurf account, you can tell, right? And I guess there's this term called Smurf account when you have like a fake account. And he was laughing about it and so on. I was like, yeah, there's no way this guy's only played the game 100 times. And he started laughing. He's like, well, there's no way you've only played the 100, there's no way you've played the game 100 times either with this kind of account. And I'm like, yeah. So we're like joking about it, right? So, but the thing is, the difference between me is, I don't claim that I would win these tournaments or anything. I'm not like so many of these people on the Discord that claim, oh, Clayton faked tournaments, he won. He's not that good. He only can do combos, blah, blah, blah. And so what I'm getting at is why simple things never go out of style. And again, I'm not doing impossible combo because this controller fucking broke and sucked. One controller doesn't even block correctly. It's ridiculous, but I feel like it must be so easy to get better at games nowadays, and these people's level that I've played, and I haven't played everybody yet, at least to my knowledge, but I've played a good amount of people that supposedly are much better than me. Boy, you're going to be very disappointed by some of your fucking heroes, let me tell you. These guys that devote their lives to this game, they look like, I don't see them raping me, dude. These guys don't look like they're raping me very much, or these guys that have devoted their life to the game and you guys think are amazing, but I think there's always been this idea that, it's quotation marks, right? Combos are a skill, but it's quotation marks. You can go and the things that people complain or try to say that I'm a combo bore or some shit that people say, right? People that just practice setups, practice all this kind of shit, right? And if I want to explain this correctly, you can practice all these different combos, all these different complicated setups. But a lot of times, and take this with a grain of salt, when you practice a lot of complicated setups, when you practice very crazy shit, the more complicated the setup, the more potential variables there is to get out of it. And I've said before, even when I was winning tournaments as a kid, people can act like I played video games all day. Whatever coping mechanism you want to use, it's not fucking true. I've had surgery on my hands. You know what I mean? I had a real life. I play other games. It's not even physically possible for me to play all these games. I didn't even and of course, once you got known as like a top player too, people wanted to beat you. And and that is definitely a real big flaw that I had as a competitive player. Even when I was winning those tournaments, I never had that killer instinct. I know some people do have a killer instinct and it makes them play better, but once people wanted to be the guy that could beat you, it really took the fun out of games. And I've always said it, and I think it makes people mad that, it's an extravagant luxury to be able to say that you play games for fun and you're able to win. And I think it made people mad, right? So they always say, I want this person to lose. And that kind of pressure makes games unfun for me. I was just lucky enough to be able to win like that. And so I wouldn't even play casual, which hurt me because since I don't play a lot, it would take me a while to get warmed up, get into a flow, get warmed up, get into a flow, and then, do whatever. So a lot of times, and I use this word cruise control, what I would do in tournaments is I would play in a simple way that is effective more times than not. Simple, fundamental things that are good in any kind of video game without getting too complicated in exactly what I do. And so even when I'm playing plus R now, and I'm not saying I've beat everybody, but I definitely have beaten people that are supposedly considered good that you have seen in tournaments. I can tell you they have not raped me. Let's just put it like that. I've looked at guys, some guys I'm not even familiar with the name, but I've, because I only know the guys that are more so a lot of the big haters, or the guys that are winning the tournament specifically. But I've played guys and I've been like, I bet that guy, people probably talk about that guy, and I've searched the guy, and it's like, oh yeah, that guy is a guy like, oh man, you're so good. Can you teach me how to play? How are you doing this? And I'm like, not impressed. The audacity, right? But so the thing is, sometimes I see these guys playing and I can tell they're trying to go for like a complicated thing, right? But the more complicated something is, the more of a variable is it. And some of these guys don't have the execution to consistently do this thing. And when I play, kind of just doing cruise control, there are certain sort of fundamental, simple things that if something is more simple in a sense, think about it like this. This is simple. There's not as many mix-ups to it. There's not as many variables. The mind game is not as big potentially, but because the mind game and variables are not as big, the other guy only has one choice. One choice. Again, take this with a grain of salt. And these simple tactics are powerful at any fucking level, okay? Maybe these simple tactics at a low level are just as effective. Because even versus a low-level guy, if there's only so many guesses, just the low-level player can still think a couple of steps, right? But that doesn't change to a quotation marks good player. They still only have those couple of choices to make to get out of something, right? Hopefully what you get what I'm getting at. And I definitely see people that devote their lives to this game. 10,000 plus matches. I can only imagine how many times they've actually played in real life. Jesus fucking Christ, you know? So hopefully what I'm getting, that's kind of a thing that really I realized to my head, and that it's something that has not changed. You know, I've always said this before, a lot of people talk a big game, even when I was younger. Oh, they talk a big game, you can do all this kind of bullshit, you can do all this kind of bullshit, but when you play, they're not really that good. You know what I mean? And you can see fundamental stuff. Like I said, when I play on cruise control. You know what I mean? And it's something that kind of like, and it's also, it's kind of made it kind of sad because it's not very fun because if you guys remember, to the haters that don't know, when I was beating the Japanese in Karno's Revenge and I was destroying people in Street Fighter Alpha, all this kind of shit, I loved being the guy that people are like, you cannot play Mizuguchi like that. No one has ever done these combo videos like this. And then boom, learned the game in a couple of weeks. I was already one of the best people in the world. Then maybe a few months later, 2chan had like a fucking thread about me. I was too good, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And people didn't think you could do all this kind of stuff, right, in real matches like that. And I love doing the cool shit. I want to do the cool shit. But, so even in Plus R, you know, I'll play a little bit here and there. I can only play so much physically anyway, and I got a real life anyway. Other stuff I want to spend my time with. But it also makes it kind of not as fun when you can't do the cool shit. So that's another reason, like, I want to do the impossible. I want to do the crazy shit like that. You know what I mean? And there are a couple of tricks. There are a couple of simple tricks that I do often do because, again, if it's a simple trick that I know that is easily doable, that I know the risk reward for it is not bad. And I'm not saying tricks are never good, for sure. I'm sure some dude could do a trick versus me, you know what I mean, that would be like, wow, it'd blow my mind. I've never seen it before. They could probably destroy me because I just don't know what it is. Again, I don't have a lot of matchup knowledge whatsoever. So I'm not saying tricks are never good, but you got to make sure you can actually do the trick, right? You know what I mean? You got to do you even have the fundamental skills at the game whatsoever? Are you only beating people because people are just that worse than you? The same kind of stuff that people accuse me of? You know, it's like ridiculous, dude. And, you know, of course, and tricks can work at all. An example, and probably calling it a trick is too strong of a word, but look at Evo 2K4. They were filming me for Evo 2K4, and told that story. I played Ricky. For whatever reason, me and Ricky were first round, which was bullshit because we were both considered top players. I was winning all those tournaments at the time. It was ridiculous. Like I said, that first year of disability, I won every single tournament I basically ever went to for an entire year on disability. That's fucking insane, right? And I was like, I just wasn't practicing. I was sick. I had all this other stuff going on in life. And I was like, you know what? I bet this dude has never seen Shin Akuma. And I just, boom, I steamrolled him with Shin Akuma. Perfect, instant kill. You know what I mean? Just to say, I don't know if that sounded like a fart. I slapped my leg. I was like, dag damn it, it was a perfect and an instant killer. I'll be damned. Right? And, I went to shake his hand, her hand now, whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And they, boom, slap my hand away. And they feel like, holy shit. Like, dude, they just had never seen it before, dude. They just were not prepared. So I'm not saying tricks are never good. But it goes to show you how powerful fundamental shit is. And is the level of video games better? I don't necessarily think it necessarily is. I think the ability to acquire knowledge is easier. Of course, right? And I compare that to not only competitively speaking, but when I talk about just what I've done in video games tech-wise, because, people always say like, oh, how can you prove you were doing all this years ago? Well, you can look it up, look at the dates if you're not a fucking idiot. But, people are like, oh, maybe someone else did it before. You just didn't know, because the internet was so sparse back then or some bullshit, whatever. It's like, dude, come on. Come on, dude. There's pictures of me helping you motherfuckers. It's fucking retarded. But let's even say that. But let's give you a grain of salt that maybe there was somebody there. Who knows, right? Nowadays, it's like, come on. Just like when I said I realized that I was by far and away the greatest tech guy ever in video games recently when Strive came out, and it's not even a competition. I could just leave. And it's because, think about today, in the day and age that we live in video games now, with things like Twitter and all these other things, everyone is looking for that one piece of clout for so strong. They will post anything for clout thinking that they found that new thing, right? So if anything, that's why I say Dragon Ball FighterZ is easily the greatest game I've ever done for, because no one has ever destroyed a game like I have Dragon Ball FighterZ. And you can tell so easily because the internet has so much knowledge available nowadays. No one was posting about the kind of stuff I was back then. You know what I mean? And the knowledge is so easy. Everyone is trying to post everything. It doesn't matter how bullshit it is, looking for clout. And boom, it is so easy to see that I am better than everyone else now. It's not even like, oh, this was years ago. We're too lazy to search it up. Dude, it's fucking there. Because you can be damn sure people are doing anything to try to make people not like me. It is so obviously fucking apparent. People will post anything. It's like, dude, look at this. Look how far ahead of I am. And it's easy. So I actually think it's easier to obtain knowledge nowadays, and that's why I think it's actually even more proof of what I've done for games, especially in this last generation, But so in terms of competitively speaking, are people necessarily better? I don't necessarily think people are better that I've seen. Games have changed. Now would become a broader topic, I guess, right? Games have definitely changed, and what is a skill before is not always necessarily as weighted of a skill nowadays. But is the level so drastically different now in terms of raw skill? No, I don't think so. And that is something, again, I've said before, people got to realize there is a raw skill in video games. You can get better, for sure. And the knowledge is easier to obtain. I'm sure a lot of people have way more matchup knowledge than me. But in terms of raw skill and fundamental stuff, a lot of people are not that good. You know what I mean? And again, this isn't me saying I would beat everybody. Once again, I'm not saying I would win tournaments. But I have not been impressed with the people that are supposedly good. These people should be absolutely destroying me. I should have no chance, especially with what the community says, that I faked tournaments, which is ridiculous. For a person that supposedly faked tournaments and all this kind of shit, you guys should be destroying me. And I'm not fucking impressed. And you know what? I'm sure what? You know what? And I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth. I'm sure, you know what? I'm like 915. It's a fucking obnoxious goddamn record. Let me fucking tell you. I could lose another 200 times in a row. And guess what? I would still be 900 and what, 200 or some bullshit. You know what I mean? Now, and maybe I'm just getting lucky. And sometimes, I pulled some shit out of my ass, no doubt. I've had some times I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing in this matchup. And you know what? I'm like, I'm gonna do this simple thing. I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna do a complicated stuff. I'm gonna do this something simple thing. I'm gonna see if this guy knows what to do. No idea what to do, and it won. And I'm like, thank God. I'm insecure enough that I don't want the record to be worse. I'm insecure enough that I don't want the record to be worse. But, again, so, a story I could tell too. I remember back in the day in Guilty Gear, this is a long video, but a story. There was a guy named Malik Fat Cat, and we were friends back in the day, but I'm sure we're not even actually friends now. Nowadays that I found out how many people were actually lying about me behind my back, you know what I mean? I'm hanging out with these guys when I don't know how long I'm going to be alive, and to think about all these lies these guys made up. So I don't know if this is one of the guys that made up lies about me, but a story I'll tell you. It was that big Guilty Gear tournament, and it was that 100-man tournament that I won, and people like Elvin Shadow were there, Kenji were there, all these kind of guys that are still considered the good guys nowadays. And I'm not saying I would totally rape these guys, okay? I know I have beaten, I beat one. I don't know if Kenji has a fake account, but I know I beat one Zappa guy who was suspiciously good for his low record. I was like, this guy has not played the game only 100 times. You know what I mean? But I'm sure these guys would kill me, right? I'm sure that I don't know if he has a fake account. I'm sure these guys would kill me. I just said it. These guys would probably kill me. Again, I'm not going to say all the guys that I beat with their fucking real names though, for sure. But anyway, so there's that big tournament I won, and there's a guy back in the day, Malik Fat Cat, who was also considered one of the best in Guilty Gear. For a very short time, the very early days of Guilty Gear, he was considered a top player, right? And I remember we were playing after the tournament, and he started trying to do this super crazy shit on me, right? And I told him, and I just started laughing. I'm like, yo, dude, that is a fucking awesome setup, but I don't even know what the fuck you're doing right now, honestly. And I joked with him about it. And I'm like, dude, that setup, some of these setups you're doing right now are so far, I don't even know the fuck you're doing, bro. You know what I mean? And when I was trying to like get home, put down to him, and I think he was, considered, he was like a math guy actually too, that I remember. Right. And so I think early on in the Guilty Gear days, he was considered really good. And this isn't me trying to talk shit about him, but more kind of trying to bring the story together, that he could do some of the complicated shit, but he wasn't necessarily good at other fighting games that I recall. He wasn't a known Street Fighter guy or this kind of stuff. Right. So on the early days of Guilty Gear, he could beat a lot of other people that were not more sound fundamentally speaking. And hopefully you get what I'm getting at. And I even told him, and it's actually sad because I remember he actually ended up quitting Guilty Gear sometime around halfway through Reload or something. And it's actually when I thought he actually finally started to play better, because he kind of like gave up Johnny and he started playing some more fundamental characters and started working on that a little bit more. But I've always thought that is kind of an interesting story. I don't think I've told that story before, but I always thought that was kind of a good story, because it goes to show you sometimes these tricks, they do work. But some of these more complicated tricks, they are more layered based. And you almost have to assume that the player is giving you respect for doing this. Does that make sense? And I'm not against crazy setups too. I'm not against crazy setups. Obviously, I do a ton of crazy shit that then people try to take as their own. But he didn't have the layers and the fundamentals to make it work versus me more than it would not work versus me. Even though, I can see it's like, wow, that's an awesome setup. And don't get me wrong, for sure, I definitely have been guilty, and I'm sure everyone has. Everyone probably has. I've gone for crazy setups, and it's like, dude, I should not be going for this setup versus this guy. This is just too crazy. But let me go back to the fundamental shit. But some people just don't have that kind of raw skill to do that. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Hopefully this was kind of a deeper video, I guess. Anyway. Again, I don't really have a lot of motivation for video games anymore. I kind of like, even this competitive thing that I'm talking about. And I don't have that kind of competitive ego like I do. Like I said, creatively speaking, yeah, I realized I'm the best ever, and it just ruined it for me. You know what I mean? It's like how am I the best ever at this specific aspect of a video game? But so many people are the ones that have profited off of me, right? And I just realized it's just kind of like I could leave games forever. And the competitive thing, like I said as well, it's like I know I'll never enter a tournament. I've never had a desire to enter a tournament again. I've said this many times, I don't think I would win tournaments anymore. And it's almost kind of like you can't see the expression on my face, just kind of like a melancholy feel, even about, competitive games. You know what I mean? I don't have that competitive ego. Like, that's what I'm saying. I don't have a competitive ego to just be like, man, I have this crazy record. I should go try to prove that I could win a tournament game. 'Cause it's like, I just don't feel like that. I don't have that kind of killer instinct. I know I'll never be able to practice, you know what I mean? Practice really get, I'm so far gone even from the little bit of video games that I used to play. It's like so far gone from even the little bit of that I used to play, right? Like a lot of the stuff, like I said, is just kind of cruise control now. And yeah, it's fucking controller too. God damn it. We opened up this controller. I can't even find out why it's not working correctly. It appears to be fine. So I don't know why it's not doing. I don't know why that controller broke. That's actually frustrating. But anyway, that's a very long video. If you like these videos, like, sub, silly comment. Like I said, this kind of video was just for me to talk about video games as well. But hopefully I told some stories that make it a little bit more interesting to other people as well.